Ever feel like, I don't know, the future's kind of like breathing down your neck?
I'd say that's a fairly accurate description of, well, existence in 2024, right?
Right.
What's got you feeling that way specifically?
Well, today, it's all about product management, which everyone's saying is like the road to the future. But get this, even AIs want in on the action.
Okay, color me intrigued. You gonna tell me Siri's got a side hustle designing apps now?
Pretty much. We are diving into a podcast called PM 101 Explore Product Management. But here's the kicker. The hosts. They're AI personalities. Rick and Summer, actually.
Hold on, like actual artificial intelligence, teaching actual humans the ins and outs of product management.
And it's wild, right? Like, imagine getting career advice from the same tech that powers your smart toaster.
See, now you're just making me hungry. But okay, on a serious note, this is way more than just a gimmick. It actually speaks to a fundamental shift in how we learn. AI, in theory, can personalize education in a way humans just can't. Think about it. A program that adapts to your pace, your style, feeds you exactly what you need to know when you need to know it. That's powerful.
It's like having a personal, hyper-intelligent tutor available 24/7. But before we get too carried away with the robot overlords taking over education.
Which, let's be honest, is always a slight concern lurking in the back of our minds these days.
Exactly. They did bring in a human expert, Aaron Demnath, a.k.a. the product geek. So it's this interesting blend of cutting-edge AI and like good old-fashioned human experience.
Which is essential, let's be real. Especially in a field like product management. It's not just about data points and algorithms, right? You got to understand people, what they want, what they need. And that's where a seasoned pro like Aaron Dom really shines, I'd imagine.
It's like the AI might tell you the statistically perfect product to launch based on like a million data points. But Aaron Dom could tell you if people will actually want to buy it, you know? And he can probably give you some killer marketing tips while he's at it.
There you go. It's that human touch. And speaking of marketing, did you catch the podcast's tagline? It's something like, tell your friends, help us go viral.
Wait, really? That's kind of meta, right? They're literally using the principles of product marketing to promote their product management podcast.
Precisely. They're living their own curriculum, which I gotta say is pretty slick. But let's get back to your original point. This whole thing, it really does make you think about the future of education, right? If AI can teach something as complex as product management today.
What can it teach tomorrow?
Exactly. And that's the real question, isn't it? What field will they revolutionize next?
All right, so week 2 of this product management crash course, huh? Looks like we're really diving deep now. This week we're tackling competitor analysis, user personas, and even the battle of Scrum versus Kanban. And of course, we can't forget about funnels, KPIs, and even a little bit on soft skills. Ready to unlock some serious product knowledge.
Let's do it. I'm ready to break it all down.
Okay, so how about we start with competitors? It might seem a little counterintuitive, but, getting a grasp on your competition, it's really important for building a product people actually want to use.
You're totally right. It's not about copying them, right? It's more about, learning from what they're doing, seeing what works, what doesn't, understanding the whole playing field. Like, remember when smartphone cameras first started to get really good?
Yeah. Everyone was obsessed with more megapixels, all those fancy features.
Exactly. And you know what? That competition, it really pushed things forward faster than anyone imagined. I mean, we went from those blurry, low-resolution pictures to, well, the amazing cameras we have in our pockets now. And it wasn't just the hardware. Software was a huge part of it. Companies were constantly improving those image processing algorithms, adding things like portrait mode and night sight, all because they wanted to one-up each other.
It's wild to think how that whole race ended up benefiting us, the users. Better products for everyone.
That's the thing. It pushes everyone to do better. And that's just one example. This source material, it actually suggests taking it even further, like actually using your competitor's product.
And that makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. To really get it, you have to see it through their users' eyes, right?
Exactly. One company, they had this breakthrough just from doing that. They were stuck trying to improve their online checkout. Nothing seemed to work. Then someone suggested trying out the competitor's checkout flow.
I bet that was illuminating.
It was. Turns out it was so much more streamlined, user-friendly, just a better experience all around.
So they saw firsthand what their competitor was doing better and used that to improve their own process.
Yeah, and guess what? They made those changes, streamlined everything, and boom, sales conversions went way up. Yeah. All because they took the time to, see what the competition was doing.
That's a pretty powerful example. But how do we actually do competitor analysis in a structured way?
Well, this source material highlights a few ways to go about it. You got to start with their online presence. We're talking about exploring their website, really trying out their products, looking at their advertising strategies, even checking out their social media, see what people are saying in reviews.
It's like becoming a product detective, right? You
Yeah,
got to look for those clues.
that's a great way to put it. And once you've gathered all that intel, then you can start figuring out where the opportunities are, where can your product stand out, how can you use their weaknesses to your advantage.
It's about using that knowledge to make your own product strategy even stronger.
Right on. But strategy is just one piece of the puzzle, you know? We got to understand who we're building this for. And that's where user personas come in.
Right, those fictional representations of your ideal customer.
Exactly. And there's so much more than just, basic demographics. A really good user persona goes deeper than age or location. We're talking motivations, pain points, goals, even their aspirations.
So kind of like building a character for a story, but instead of fiction, it's about understanding the real lives of your users.
Exactly. It's about figuring out their needs, what frustrates them, and ultimately how our product can help them reach their goals. Like your source material had this great example. They called her Sarah, the busy professional.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. What made her so effective?
They went beyond the usual 32-year-old project manager living in a city stuff. They showed how much she needed efficiency, organization, especially at work, and how frustrated she was with those clunky, overwhelming project management tools out there.
So, by really understanding her pain points, they could design something that truly clicked with her and people like her.
And it's so much easier to get behind a feature when you can connect it back to someone like Sarah. You can say, this is how it'll make her life easier, and it just clicks.
A human element to the decisions instead of just talking about features in a vacuum.
Exactly. So now that we know who we're building for, let's figure out how. And that brings us to, drumroll please, agile methodologies. Scrum versus Kanban.
The classic debate. Sometimes all the jargon makes my head spin, but the source material had a great analogy.
They compared Scrum to baking a cake with a recipe, right?
Yes, that's the one.
Super structured, every step laid out. Kanban, on the other hand, it's more like running a busy kitchen.
Okay, so Scrum is like carefully following that recipe, sprints, backlogs, daily stand-ups, all that jazz. And Kanban is more adaptable. Go with the flow, whatever comes up.
Nailed it. Scrum's great when you have a really clear plan and timeline, but Kanban shines when you need that flexibility to adapt on the fly.
So how do you pick the right one? Is it like choosing between chocolate or vanilla?
It really is. There's no one right answer. It all depends on the project, your team, even your company culture. It's about knowing the strengths and weaknesses and picking the best fit for your goals.
So Scrum or Kanban, it's all about finding that rhythm that works for your team. But one thing's for sure, you got to know if your product's actually working, right? And that's where funnels and KPIs enter the picture.
Yeah, they sound kind of technical, but really it's just about seeing how people are using what you built and if it's doing what you hoped it would.
Okay, so break it down for me. Funnels first. I'm picturing an actual funnel, like you'd use in the kitchen.
You're not far off. Imagine users are flowing through that funnel. Each stage is like a step they take, right? Landing on your website, opening the app, all the way to, buying something, finishing a tutorial, whatever that goal is.
So you can see where they drop off, where they get stuck.
Precisely. Those drop-off points, they're gold. They show you what needs fixing. Say you've got an e-commerce app and tons of people are bailing at checkout.
Red flag. Something's up with that checkout process. Too many steps, maybe. Hidden fees popping up out of nowhere.
Exactly. Analyzing that funnel, it shows you those pain points. Then you can make it smoother, hopefully get those drop-off rates down. Which brings us to KPIs.
Right, so if funnels show us where the problems are, KPIs are more like how bad are those problems, or just how well the product's doing overall.
You got it. KPIs are those measurable things, those metrics that tell you if your product's healthy, like a doctor checking your vitals.
Give me some examples. What kind of things are we measuring?
Depends on the product, right? But we're talking conversion rates, how much it costs to get a new customer, how long those customers stick around, even just how many people are using your product each month.
So keeping an eye on those numbers tells you if you're on the right track.
This source material really stresses that you gotta pick KPIs that match your goals, not just vanity metrics that look good but don't mean much. Track what matters for your business, for your users.
It's about making sure you're making something people actually love to use.
100%.
Okay, we've talked about understanding your users, navigating the world of Agile, measuring success. But there's one piece missing: Soft skills.
Soft skills. Okay, I gotta admit, I always think of those awkward trust falls and icebreakers.
Not quite what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
In product management soft skills, it's about communication, listening, building those relationships.
So how you talk to your team, the people you answer to, even your users.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because even if you've got the best product in the world, if you can't explain it, get feedback, deal with people, it's going nowhere.
You could have a game changer, but without good communication, it'll never get off the ground.
This source material had this great tip, super simple, the think, breathe, speak method.
Think, breathe, speak. That sounds almost too easy. It's about pausing before you jump in, taking a second to get your thoughts straight, choosing your words carefully. We've all been there, right? Saying something dumb because we didn't think it through. This helps you avoid that.
Being present in the conversation, taking that extra beat to respond.
You nailed it. Makes a huge difference in how people hear you. Another thing from the source, that posture exercise for more confidence when you're communicating.
Oh yeah, the one where you stand tall, shoulders back, all that.
Body language is huge, but don't underestimate active listening either. It's not just hearing the words, it's really getting what the other person's trying to say.
Being engaged, asking questions if you need to, showing them you care about what they think.
Exactly. Active listening builds trust, helps everyone work together, and it's the key to solving those disagreements that pop up. Essential for any product manager, really.
It's all about creating that space where everyone feels heard, which just makes the whole product development process smoother and more successful. So yeah, having those communication skills down, that's huge for anyone in product management. But let's switch gears for a minute back to the more technical stuff. Our source material also digs into roadmaps and MVPs.
Oh, yeah, roadmaps and MVPs, can't forget those. Those are key for planning out your product and, actually making it happen. Think of a roadmap kind of like a visual guide, showing where your product's going over time.
Okay, so if we're picturing this, what's on this roadmap?
It shows you the overall vision, the big goals, the milestones you got to hit along the way. Like a strategy document keeps everyone on the same page, focused on the long game.
But it's not set in stone, right?
Right, it's got to be flexible, Things change, you get feedback, got to adapt. That's where the MVP comes in.
Right, the minimum viable product.
Yeah.
Getting that bare bones version out there to test the waters.
Exactly. The whole point of an MVP is to see if your assumptions about the product actually hold up, but you want to do it fast. So you release a version with just the essential stuff, the core features that solve that one problem for your users. Then you watch what they do, get their feedback, and make it better.
Makes sense. Way better to find out early if you're on the right track instead of spending months building something nobody wants.
Tell me about it. And these days, there's this big push to make MVPs not just minimal, but lovable, too.
Lovable. That's kind of new, right?
Yeah.
I always figured MVPs were supposed to be, well, a little rough around the edges.
Yeah, that used to be the norm. But a minimum lovable product, it's about finding that balance, Even early on, it should spark something in your users, get them excited. Core functionality, but with a little bit of delight built in.
So even with fewer features, the heart of it, that core value, it still shines through.
Yeah.
I like it. So how do we go about actually building one of these lovable MVPs?
All the source material lays out a 5-step process. You got to start by really understanding the problem you're solving. Then, analyze the competition, map out how you want users to move through the product, and figure out which features are absolutely essential.
And finally, get that MVP built, throw it out there, and learn from how people use it.
Exactly. It's all about learning and adapting, right? User feedback, market trends, gotta stay on top of it.
We've covered a ton today. Competitor analysis, user personas, agile methodologies, soft skills. It's wild how much goes into making a successful product.
It's a journey, that's for sure. Speaking of journeys, there was one last thing in this material that really stuck with me. It's all about understanding your why.
Oh yeah, that's so important. Why are we doing this, really? What difference are we trying to make? It's got to be a bit more than just checking boxes.
100%. It's easy to lose sight of that in the day-to-day grind, But that bigger purpose, it's got to be your compass.
So to everyone listening, as you dive deeper into this product management world, always remember to ask yourself, what's your why? What problem are you passionate about solving? Let that be your guide on this wild ride.
And hey, enjoy the ride too, right? The ups, the downs, the lessons learned, that's all part of it.